1,930 kilos of muscle, bone, and wild instinct. Nearly 6 meters tall, the equivalent of a 2-story building. The heart alone weighs 11 kilograms. And yet, a 60-centimeter arrow is enough.
It's made of twigs and an old nail to bring down this colossus.
Not in minutes, in hours, sometimes in days.
This is how the Hadzabe hunt giraffes in Tanzania. And when they succeed, they feed 30 people for whole weeks.
If you are passionate about wild animals and real documentaries, do not leave this video. Watch until the end, subscribe to the channel now, and comment where you are watching from. The sun has not yet risen over Lake Eyasi when the hunters begin to move. The temperature fluctuates between 15 and 20 degrees at this time of day, perfect for tracking. 3 men, sometimes 4, leave the camp in absolute silence. They carry no water, they carry no food, they carry only the bow, a quiver with arrows of different sizes, and 50,000 years of knowledge accumulated in their muscles and instincts. Their bare feet know every stone, every root, every trap that the terrain might offer. The Hadzabe are one of the last tribes of genuine hunter-gatherers remaining on the planet. 1,300 people. That is all. A population that would fit into a single apartment building in a big city. They live on the shores of Lake Eyasi in northern Tanzania, surrounded by the Rift Valley and the plains of the Serengeti. They do not plant. They do not raise animals. They do not store food. They possess no calendar or clock. Time is measured by the movement of the sun, by the position of the stars, by the cycle of the seasons. Each day is a direct negotiation with nature, and sometimes this negotiation involves facing the tallest land animal in the world. The traditional territory of the Hadzabe extends for approximately 4,000 square kilometers around Lake Eyasi. It is a landscape of dramatic contrasts. Rocky hills dotted with thorny acacias, valleys covered in dense bushes, open plains where the dry grass ripples like a golden ocean, gigantic baobabs with trunks that can reach 10 meters in diameter dominate the horizon, like ancestral sentinels. Some of these baobabs are over 1,000 years old. They were there when the ancestors of the Hadzabe were already hunting on these lands. The Maasai giraffe, a species that inhabits this region, can reach 5 meters and 80 centimeters in height. The neck alone measures approximately 2 meters, 1/3 of the animal's entire body. An adult male weighs between 1,100 and 1,900 kilos. To put it in perspective, it is the equivalent of a mid-size SUV car, but alive, alert, capable of running at 64 kilometers per hour and of killing a lion with a single kick. Its eyes, the size of golf balls, see predators kilometers away. Its heart, 60 centimeters long and weighing 11 kilos, pumps blood at a pressure 3 times greater than that of a healthy human being. It is necessary to push the blood up that endless neck to the brain, and it is exactly this heart that the Hadzabe need to stop. The manufacturing of the bow begins weeks before the hunt. The men walk through the bush in search of specific branches of trees like the Gruvia bicolor or the Dombeya kirki, woods that combine flexibility with resistance. Not just any branch will do, it needs to have the right diameter, the adequate natural curvature, no knot or imperfection that could compromise the structure. The process of drying and molding takes 2 or 3 days. The wood is heated over the fire, bent with care, left to cool in the desired position. An error in this process means starting over from zero. The string is made of nuchal ligament of animals like the eland, the buffalo, or the zebra, or in some cases, from the tendons of the giraffe, itself slaughtered previously. Nothing is wasted, nothing is bought. The Hadzabe do not use money among themselves. There is no internal commerce. The exchanges they make with neighboring tribes like the Datoga blacksmiths are based on barter, meat and honey, in exchange for metal tips for arrows, knives, axes. The finished bow measures approximately 1.5 meters in length. It demands a traction force of 311 newtons to be completely stretched. This is equivalent to approximately 70% of the body weight of an adult Hadzabe man. Imagine pulling a string with 31 kilos of resistance, maintaining a stable aim, controlling breathing and releasing at the exact moment. The arrow reaches a speed of 45 meters per second, 162 kilometers per hour, faster than many professional baseball pitches. Researchers from Harvard University studied the mechanics of the Hadzabe shot and discovered that the traditional bows transfer approximately 70% of the accumulated energy to the arrow. It is an efficiency comparable to modern recurve bows used in Olympic competitions. The difference is that Olympic bows are manufactured with carbon fiber, aluminum, and high-tech polymers. Hadzabe bows are made with tree branches and animal tendons. But speed is not enough. The arrow alone does not have the force to penetrate deep enough into the thick skin of a giraffe and cause fatal damage. A modern archer with state-of-the-art hunting equipment would have difficulty bringing down an animal of this size without an absolutely perfect shot in a specific vital point. The Hadzabe cannot count on luck. That is where the true secret enters. The poison. In the region of Lake Eyasi exists a plant that the Hadzabe call panjuko. The scientific name is Adenium obesum, known in the rest of the world as desert rose. It is a succulent with vibrant flowers in shades of pink and red, commonly sold as an ornamental plant in nurseries of developed countries. Few people who buy it to decorate their balconies know that this plant contains cardiac glycosides, potent chemical compounds that, upon entering the bloodstream, interfere directly with the functioning of the heart. The same chemical compounds are found in digitalis, a medication used to treat heart failure. In controlled doses, it can save lives. In high doses, it kills. The Hadzabe discovered this thousands of years ago, long before modern pharmaceutical chemistry existed. The extraction of the poison is a process that has not changed in millennia. First, the men walked to a specific island on the southeast shore of Lake Eyasi, one of the few places where the desert rose grows in abundance in the region. They cut a branch or crush it with a stone until it forms a moist pulp. The white and milky sap begins to run. Then they squeeze the liquid into a container, sometimes the only pot the family possesses, and boil it slowly until the water evaporates. What remains is a blackened, sticky substance with the consistency of tar. This paste is then rolled into thin strips and applied just below the metal tip of the arrow. The color of the adenium poison is always black, unlike the poison made from another plant used by the Hadzabe, the Strophanthus imini, which turns brown. The hunters know the difference. They know which poison to use for which animal. They know how much time each one takes to take effect. There exists yet a third type of poison called kalakasi, which the Hadzabe do not produce. It is obtained ready-made through exchanges with neighboring tribes. The plant does not grow in Hadzabe territory, but the poison is exchanged for meat or honey when available. After applying the poison, the pot is washed with water. The woman of the house tastes the pot with her tongue. If it is still bitter, she washes it more. If the bitter taste has disappeared, it is ready to cook the next meal. It seems risky, but the Hadzabe know that the poison is only dangerous when it enters the bloodstream. Ingested, it passes through the digestive system without causing significant damage. They never touch the poisoned part of the arrow with bare hands. The hunters depart before dawn because the giraffe feeds in the first hours of the morning and the last hours of the afternoon. For 16 to 20 hours a day, it eats, using its prehensile tongue of up to 50 centimeters to rip leaves from acacias, even among the sharpest thorns. The tongue is dark, almost black, a natural protection against sunburns. During the heat of midday, the giraffe rests in the shade, ruminating. It is in this moment of rest that the Hadzabe prefer to attack, but getting close enough is another story. The giraffe possesses extraordinary vision. Its eyes, positioned on the sides of the head and elevated to almost 6 meters from the ground, function as natural watchtowers. It can detect movement at distances that would be impossible for the majority of terrestrial mammals. It sees in color and possesses excellent night vision. Its only natural predators, lions, need coordinated ambushes in groups to have any chance of success. And even then, they frequently fail. Up to 75% of giraffe calves die in the first year of life, attacked by predators. But a healthy adult is rarely brought down. The Hadzabe do not have the luxury of attacking in a group like lions. It is 3 or 4 men against an animal that weighs more than all of them together multiplied by 10. The approach takes hours, sometimes a whole day. The hunters move intermittently, taking advantage of bushes, rocks, termite mounds, any break in the terrain that blocks the animal's line of sight. They take off their sandals made of old tire so as not to break dry branches. They communicate only with subtle gestures. The wind needs to be in their favor and blowing from the giraffe to them, not the other way around. A single mistake, a single sound out of place, a single sudden movement, and the prey disappears into the horizon in seconds. All the work of hours lost instantly. When they finally arrive at a shooting distance, normally between 15 and 50 meters, the lead archer selects the larger poisoned arrow, the one reserved for large animals. Hadzabe arrows come in at least 4 different types. Arrows with a sharpened wooden tip for birds and lizards, arrows with a blunt tip to knock out small prey without damaging the meat, arrows with a simple metal tip for medium animals, and arrows with a larger metal tip and application of poison for the giants. The archer pulls the string to the limit of his strength. 70% of his body weight concentrated in his arms, shoulders, back. He aims at the area of the neck or the thorax, where the skin is relatively thinner and where the large blood vessels are more accessible. He holds his breath and releases. The initial impact rarely brings down the giraffe. The animal feels the sting, looks around confused, and begins to run. It is at this moment that the true hunt begins. Not the hunt of the approach, but the hunt of the wait, the hunt of patience, the poison of Adenium obesum. Acts by interrupting the electrical signaling of the heart. The cardiac glycosides block the sodium-potassium pump in the cardiac cells, causing arrhythmias that progressively weaken the muscle. The heart begins to beat irregularly. Blood pressure drops. The muscles do not receive enough oxygen. The animal does not die instantly. Instead, it weakens. Its steps become unstable. Its run becomes erratic. The Hadzabe call this getting drunk. The trail of... The animal begins to snake, to zigzag until it finally stops. This process can take from a few hours to more than a day, depending on where the arrow hit, how much poison entered the bloodstream, and the size and health of the animal. There are cases documented by anthropologists in which the Hadzabe tracked a giraffe for 3 consecutive days, sleeping in the open, without eating, drinking only water from roots they know along the way. Persistence is a fundamental part of the hunt, a heritage that researchers believe dates back to the first Homo sapiens who inhabited these same lands tens of thousands of years ago. An expedition recorded by National Geographic accompanied a hunter named January who managed to hit a giraffe with a poisoned arrow. The team tracked the animal for more than an hour, observing the trail becoming increasingly erratic as the poison took effect. But when the sun began to set, January decided to return to camp. Continuing at night would be too dangerous. The next day, they resumed tracking. After another hour of fast walking, they found the spot where the giraffe had slept. But it was not there. The poison had not been strong enough. The animal had recovered and moved on. The hunt failed. Failing is part of the process. The Hadzabe do not hunt giraffes every week. They do not hunt even every month. It is a rare event, reserved for when conditions are favorable, when the most experienced hunters are willing, when the need for meat is great enough to justify the effort and the risk. On most days, the Hadzabe diet consists of smaller prey, dik-diks, mongooses, wild pigs, monkeys, combined with tubers, fruits, berries, and above all, honey. Honey is the favorite food of the Hadzabe. It is the only thing for which they demonstrate something resembling enthusiasm. The men are capable of climbing baobabs 20 meters high to reach a hive, using smoke to calm the bees and bare hands to extract the combs. It is a concentrated source of calories and sugar in a diet that otherwise would be relatively poor in available energy. But when a giraffe is finally brought down, everything changes. An adult giraffe provides between 300 and 500 kilos of usable meat. For a typical Hadzabe camp of 20 to 40 people, this represents weeks of guaranteed feeding. It is like winning the lottery, but a lottery that demands days of work, risk of life, and knowledge accumulated over millennia. But there is a considerable logistical problem: how to transport half a ton of meat through the African bush, without vehicles, without carts, without pack animals, without refrigeration, under a sun that can exceed 35 degrees during the day. The solution of the Hadzabe is elegant in its simplicity. They do not transport the meat, they transport the camp. When a hunter slaughters a giraffe too far from the place where the group is settled, he sends a messenger back. Sometimes the youngest hunter of the group runs back to give the news. The information spreads quickly through the camp. In a matter of hours, entire families dismantle their shelters, simple structures made of curved branches and covered with dry grass that can be built in less than 2 hours, and walk to the site of the hunt. Children, women, the elderly. Everyone goes. The few belongings they possess fit on their backs or in their arms. The temporary camp that forms around the carcass can last from 3 days to 2 weeks, depending on the size of the animal and the number of mouths to feed. During this period, the life of the group revolves entirely around the processing and consumption of the prey. It is a festival, a celebration, a moment of abundance in an existence normally marked by uncertainty. The work of dismembering a giraffe is done mainly by the men who participated in the hunt, assisted by other members of the group. The knives used are simple metal blades obtained by barter, sometimes just large, sharpened nails. There is no formal hierarchy in Hadzabe society. There are no chiefs. There are no designated leaders. There is no accumulation of wealth or power. Decisions are taken collectively. Conflicts are resolved by the simple option of changing camps. If someone does not like someone, they leave and join another group. All Hadzabe can trace some kinship relationship with all other Hadzabe, so there is no lack of options. But there exists the concept of ipime, which can be translated approximately as full masculinity or status of true hunter. A Hadzabe man becomes ipime when he kills his first large animal, usually in his 20s. It can be a giraffe, a buffalo, a wild boar, a lion. From that moment, he has the right to certain specific parts of large animals. These parts include the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, the tongue, the neck, and the genital organs. No woman, child, or man who has not yet reached the status of epim can be present during the consumption of these parts. It is one of the few rituals of separation in Hadzabe society. The rest of the time, men and women have equal voice in the decisions of the group. The meat of the limbs, the liver, the intestines, the fat, the bone marrow, all this is distributed among all members of the camp. There is no private property regarding food. What is hunted belongs to the group. A family that receives more meat today will give more meat tomorrow when it is the turn of their men to bring the prey. The system has worked for 50,000 years. There is no reason to change. The fire is lit immediately after arrival at the hunt site. The Hadzabe still produce fire in the traditional way, rubbing a stick of hard wood against a base of softer wood, generating enough heat through friction to light a nest of dry grass. The process takes between 30 seconds and 2 minutes for an experienced practitioner. 6-year-old children can already do this. It is a skill as basic for the Hadzabe as flipping a light switch is for us. The meat is roasted directly over the embers or skewered on improvised branches. There is no seasoning other than the flavor itself. There are no cultivated side dishes. Sometimes women bring wild tubers they dug up on the way, roots rich in carbohydrates that complement the protein of the meat. Other times there are baobab fruits, whose fruits provide vitamin C and calcium. The Hadzabe know more than 90 species of edible plants in their territory. The tongue of the giraffe, which can measure up to 50 centimeters in length, and is covered by a dark pigmentation that protects it from the sun during long hours of feeding, is considered a delicacy. The bone marrow of the large leg bones, the femur of a giraffe, can be more than a meter long, is extracted by breaking the bone with stones and consumed raw or lightly heated. It is a concentrated source of fat and nutrients, especially valuable in a diet that, most of the time, is relatively lean. The Hadzabe waste nothing. The skin can be used to make ropes, transport bags, blankets for sleeping. The tendons are reserved to manufacture new bowstrings. The smaller bones become tools or ornaments. The viscera feed the children first, for being easier to chew. Even the contents of the stomach, partially digested plant material, is sometimes squeezed to extract liquid in situations of extreme water scarcity. While the camp feeds on the giraffe, life continues its rhythm. Women go out in groups of 3 or 4 to collect wild vegetables nearby, talking, laughing, watching out for each other. Younger men might try to hunt smaller prey, dik-diks, birds, mongooses, to vary the diet, or simply to practice their skills. Children play, observe, imitate the adults with miniature bows. The elderly tell stories at night, transmitting the knowledge of generations in a language that does not exist anywhere else on the planet. The Hadzabe language, called Hadzane, is a linguistic isolate. It is not related to any other known language on Earth. It possesses sounds of clicks made with the tongue against the roof of the mouth that resemble the Khoisan languages of southern Africa. But genetic and linguistic analyses confirmed that there is no relation between the two groups. The Hadzabe are alone. They are unique. Their language, their genetics, their culture, everything points to an incredibly ancient human lineage that survived isolated while the rest of the world changed around them. At night, when the moon is not visible in the sky, the Ipime men perform a ritual dance also called Ipimi. It is one of the few moments of collective spiritual expression of this society that follows no formal religion. The Hadzabe have no gods in the conventional sense. They make occasional prayers to the sun, called Ishoko, or to the husband of the sun, Hain. They believe they go to the sun when they die. But there are no temples, there are no priests, there are no written dogmas. The Hadzabe tell that humans descended to Earth on the neck of a giraffe. It is a powerful image. Humanity arriving in the world mounted on the tallest animal that exists, as if descending from some elevated place, from some celestial plane. Another version of the story says that the first humans descended from a baobab, the giant tree that can live thousands of years and whose trunk reaches diameters of 10 meters or more. In any case, the giraffe occupies a special place in Hadzabe cosmology. It is not worshipped, it is not untouchable, but it is respected. It is recognized as a creature that demands the maximum from the hunters, in skill, in patience, in physical and mental endurance. Killing a giraffe is not just getting food, it is proving that you are capable of facing the greatest challenge the Savanna can offer. Today, this hunt has become extremely rare. In the last 3 decades, the traditional territory of the Hadzabe has shrunk 90%. Datoga farmers, cattle breeders, occupied vast areas that were previously exclusive hunting zones. Their herds of goats and cows compete for scarce water, depleting the small natural reservoirs on which the Hadzabe depend. National parks and wildlife reserves, like the Serengeti and Ngorongoro, protect the large animals, but also prevent the Hadzabe from hunting them legally. The giraffes, zebras, and buffaloes that their ancestors hunted freely are now property of the state or of tourism companies. In 2007, the local government leased 6,500 square kilometers of Hadzabe lands to the royal family of the United Arab Emirates. It would be used as a private hunting reserve. The Hadzabe were not consulted. They received nothing. Only after international protests and pressure from indigenous rights organizations was the agreement cancelled. Of the approximately 1,300 Hadzabe that exist currently, only about 300 still live exclusively as hunter-gatherers. They go out every day to hunt and gather, sleep where the night finds them, move according to the availability of water and food. The other 700 live in semi-permanent camps near villages, supplementing the traditional diet with bought foods, processed corn flour, sugar, cooking oil. Some work as tour guides, showing foreign visitors how to make fire, how to shoot with a bow, how to live as humans lived before agriculture. Life expectancy at birth among the Hadzabe is approximately 33 to 37 years. The number is frightening, but it is misleading. High infant mortality pulls the average down. Many children do not survive the first 5 years, victims of infections, malnutrition, lack of access to medicines. But those who reach adulthood frequently live until 60 or 70 years, remaining active and productive until the end. Tourism brought money, but it also brought problems. Alcohol, especially, devastated some communities. Deaths by alcohol poisoning became a serious problem in the last 20 years. Young men who should be learning to track giraffes spend their afternoons drinking beer bought with the shillings left by tourists. The knowledge is being lost. The skills are being diluted. Each elder who dies takes with them information that was never written anywhere, and yet some resist. In 2011, a Hadzabe community of 700 people received the legal title to more than 20,000 hectares of land. The first time in the history of Tanzania that the government formally recognized the territorial rights of a minority tribe. It was a historic victory, won after decades of struggle, and with support from international organizations like Survival International. But 20,000 hectares is still a fraction of the original territory. And the pressure for more agricultural land, more pasture for cattle, more space for a Tanzanian population that grows rapidly, this pressure does not stop. The Hadzabe say that they never went hungry in their oral history. There is no memory of a time when there was not enough food. The reason, according to them, is simple. They depend on natural products of the environment. They do not damage the land. They do not deplete resources. They take only what they need for the day. The forest remains healthy, and a healthy forest always provides. It is a lesson that the modern world has not yet learned. When a Hadzabe hunter slaughters a giraffe, he is not just ensuring meat for the next few weeks. He is repeating a gesture that connects 50,000 years of human history. Each poisoned arrow carries the knowledge of generations, which plant to pick, how to extract the sap, how long to boil, where to hit the animal. It is a living library that is not in any book. The Hadzabe remind us of something the modern world has forgotten, that surviving was once an art, that each meal was once a conquest, that nature is not a backdrop for photos, but a dance partner, sometimes generous, sometimes ruthless. While you read this somewhere near Lake Ayasi, a group of men is following tracks in the dust, without GPS, without a phone, only eyes trained by millennia of practice, and perhaps at this exact moment, an arrow is flying toward the neck of a giant.